welcome to another dimension of law and mediation. I'm Dr. Anita. In the last video, I talked a little bit about personal directives. I introduced the concept, I talked to you a little bit about the agents, etc. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what kinds of decisions you could actually include in this document. So, this document deals with personal decisions. So, not money-related decisions. So what's most important is to express decisions about your treatment choices. So let's assume you were ill. Would you like to have chemotherapy administered? Would you like to have your life prolonged with heroic measures? Or maybe you wouldn't wish that. So you can express this kind of decisions here in this document. You also can talk about who you would like to live with, where you would like to live, etc. So these are examples of decisions that you put in this document. Now, when is this document valid? Well, it becomes valid at the time when you have two medical people or a psychologist or a doctor decide that you have lost the capacity to make your decisions. So how long is it valid for? Well, it remains valid until you die, or until you regain your capacity, or until you revoke it. It also is valid until your agent's death, or until your agent says, no, thank you very much, I no longer wish to act. Of course, at any time, the court can decide whether or not the document is valid. A couple of questions that have come up when I talk about these documents. So, for example, what about, well, I got a phone call, I got married. Does that mean that my personal directive is no longer valid? No, it is still valid. So the marriage itself does not invalidate it. Well, a more interesting question, I got a phone call from a gentleman. Well, what about, I'm in the process of divorce. I just got divorced, actually. And I remember that I have my wife, or my ex now, named as the agent in my personal directive. So what about the divorce? Does that invalidate my personal directive? I'm a little bit concerned. Well, the bad news is no. Your divorce does not invalidate it. So maybe you should think again if you want your ex-spouse to make these decisions when you're in the hospital and unconscious, for example. So these were just examples of the decisions that you can include in this document, and whether or not some life events might impact its validity. You've heard the word capacity. I repeated when you lose your capacity to make decisions. What does capacity mean legally? Well, that's going to be a topic for another law video in the future. For now, thanks for being with me today, and I'm Dr. Anita, from my heart to yours.